Meanwhile, 5,000 miles to the west, there's another breaking story we're watching very closely right now. A massive earthquake off the west coast triggering a tsunami warning for Hawaii. Larry Yamada from our ABC affiliate in Hawaii reports.
Very serious situation here in Hawaii. Earlier this evening, the civil defense calling for an evacuation of all low-lying areas because of a tsunami threat in our area that generated by the 7.7 earthquake in Canada. We're expecting waves of up to 3 to 6 to 7 feet. Haven't seen that materialize yet, even though they are seeing some of those tsunami waves come in at a couple of feet or so. Still a fairly serious situation out here with what may happen in some of the bays. It's still going to be a long night tonight. They're still going to have to wait at least a couple more hours before they can even consider lowering that advisory. But it appears that it's not going to be as bad as they once predicted. We'll send it back to you.
We have just gotten word now that we have seen a landfall of this hurricane.
6:45 p.m. Central Time, the system made landfall.
Sand is getting blown down the beach. We're getting the wind erosion. Let's look at the surf out here in the Gulf. I just checked the Orange Beach buoy offshore. 19 footers right now offshore. It's like a blizzard here. It's like sand just getting whipped through these seals. This onshore wind sustained at almost 40 miles an hour with this feeder band coming around.
You can see this sign up here. It has been shredded. That's the power of the wind, and it's just getting started.
Long duration storm. It's not going to be over for a while.
It is just non-stop. Just unbelievable as it's been coming through.
I'm gonna ride this one out, guys. I'm gonna ride this one out right here.
It is 6 o'clock, tracking Hurricane Isaac. And the biggest problem right now, topping of levees.
Yes.
And lack of its nourishment.
We have flooding, inundated 4 to 9 feet in areas on that side. And we have homes that have been inundated. We have folks that are trapped in some of their residents.
And as you can see, the rain is coming down sideways. And again, we're into a marathon here. This is not going to be over in a couple of hours. This is going to be over perhaps in about a day and a half.
Larger systems take longer to strengthen, as we saw Isaac over the Gulf of Mexico, and they take a lot longer to wind down.
This is what's been going on all morning. It's calm, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get knocked over like that.
Holy smoke. I don't know what the heck is just coming through here right now. This is some of the strongest wind that we've had all morning. Oh, not to mention the rain is just killing me. For whatever it's worth, I hope I'm making Tebow proud.
Japan's capital is now bracing for a powerful typhoon, which is packing winds of up to 180 kilometres per hour. Typhoon Jelawat hit the Japanese mainland over the weekend, sparking the evacuation of thousands of people after it tore across the southern island of Okinawa, killing one man and injuring more than 140 others. More than 500 flights were cancelled and bullet train services across the country have been suspended.
Residents shelter as thunderstorms and gale force winds weave a path of destruction. After hitting the southern island of Okinawa on Saturday, Typhoon Jelawat made its way across mainland Japan. The storm brought winds of up to 180 kilometres an hour, destroying anything that lay in its path. In a region familiar with typhoons, the storm's force took many people by surprise.
I knew it was coming, but I thought it was just going to be a little windy. So I thought it would be alright and came out. I didn't expect this.
The Category 4 typhoon caused record winds on the southern island of Okinawa. More than 50 people were injured and thousands of homes were left without electricity. One man was killed when he was swept away by high waves while fishing. Scared for their safety, hundreds fled to shelters.
I'm living in a wooden building which is nearly 60 years old, and I was scared of the wind, so came here yesterday.
As the typhoon travels up mainland Japan, residents have been warned to stay indoors. 50,000 people have been evacuated from their homes in the central city of Nagoya, with authorities concerned about rising river levels. People have been stranded across the country, with dozens of train services suspended and hundreds of flights cancelled.
I'm quite surprised because my flights have never been cancelled, although I've had numerous experiences of taking off in a typhoon.
In Tokyo, people are bracing for more strong winds and more wet weather, with up to 20 inches of rain expected. The Weather Bureau predicts the storm to hit northern Japan before moving off into the Pacific Ocean. Emma Younger, ABC News.
In India, rescue teams are still searching for crew members missing after their vessel ran aground in strong winds caused by Cyclone Nila. 7 people were killed when the storm hit the country's southeast last night, bringing heavy rain and strong winds.
The weather wasn't as extreme as forecast, but it was enough to blow this ship into dire straits. Just before Cyclone Nila made landfall, this oil tanker ran aground near the southeastern city of Chennai. The crew was forced to abandon ship and make for shore, but one was killed when their lifeboat capsized in rough seas. With the help of Coast Guard helicopters, authorities have now rescued 32 people from the water.
So they are taken to hospital. 5 people are still missing, which we are searching with the help of 2 helicopters and 2 ships.
As the rescue effort continues, shipping authorities say they're working on a plan to refloat the ship. But locals are becoming anxious that the 350 tonnes of oil on board may cause a major spill.
I think the Indian government should be taking a very fast action since it is a major threat to the environment and the society and the people living in the coastal areas.
And authorities have plenty of other issues to deal with as they work to provide food and water to the thousands evacuated from their homes. Power has now been restored to all districts, but low-lying areas remain flooded. This flooded subway isn't in New York, it's in Hyderabad. The storm has weakened substantially as it crosses the states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, meaning for many the worst is over. Bill Bainbridge, ABC News.
Hurricane Sandy is such an unusual storm, a once-in-a-generation event. Sam is leading our team coverage this morning from Lower Manhattan. And Sam, what exactly makes Sandy so different and so powerful?
Oh, George, there's a huge list about this storm. But first, let's start with the size of this thing. We're going to show you the 3D satellite view, and you're going to see these clouds that stretch from, well, really Bermuda all the way up the coastline, take it to Hudson Bay in Canada and beyond to the Arctic Circle. Then with the 3D view, you can actually see there's been a little center. We've been able to see some eye in this storm periodically, and then it seems to go away. Some people are surprised this storm, though moving north, gained a little strength overnight last night, and it did that because it moved into the warmer waters of the Gulf Stream. It's this little current of warm water that runs just off the eastern seaboard, and it gives that storm the little oomph it needs before it starts to head toward the coastline. All experts are still pointing this storm toward the shoreline just at around midnight to 1 o'clock this morning, somewhere near that Atlantic City area. Now, all morning long, we're going to show you pictures of damage from this storm. And remember, all of these pictures we show you this morning are with this storm more than 200 miles off the coastline. Hurricane Sandy is currently more than 200 miles east of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, but already its effects have been devastating. Dare County, North Carolina saw nearly 6 inches of rain in the past 24 hours.
We got about 8 to 9 inches of water on our property.
There are many places like Norfolk, Virginia, where low-lying streets are already flooded, and there are thousands of customers without power. 85-mile-an-hour winds are already churning the surf. Sandy's winds could be up to 90 miles an hour this afternoon, just short of a Category 2. All of this power, all of this damage, and Sandy is still well offshore. What makes Sandy special? This time of year, most tropical storms and hurricanes move east out to sea. Sandy's traveling north and will turn west, so its effects will be felt over a large land area. And this storm is monster-sized. Clouds stretching over 2,000 miles, tropical storm force winds more than 1,000 miles. And as Sandy makes its way up the eastern seaboard, it is colliding with an Arctic cold front from the west. Add in the 150-mile-plus winds of the jet stream, and Sandy is a superstorm.
This storm is going to be destructive, historic, and unfortunately life-threatening.
And we've got to talk about wind and rain from this storm first. Those are first the likely things that will cause the most damage early on in this storm. Quick look at its wind field and it'll show you this is not a coastal system. Watch this thing come on shore and then it spreads winds all the way in toward, well, look at that. Chicago, you're getting winds from this all the way down south. Atlanta, you'll be feeling the winds from this storm. Take a look at the rainfall. And again, this is not just a coastal storm. The heaviest rain is definitely where this storm will come on shore,
Sandy took center stage last week as the nation braced for a historic storm that would go on to affect millions. Early week, Sandy was absorbed into the jet stream and pulled northwest into southern Jersey. Though Sandy was not the strongest hurricane north of Cape Hatteras, it was the second largest Atlantic hurricane on record. Heavy rain pushed inland from eastern Virginia to Maine. Rainfall topped a half a foot in Baltimore with over a foot in eastern Maryland. Most of the destruction was down at the coast with Sandy's storm surge. A record storm surge of 9 feet was found at Battery Park, which put part of Manhattan underwater. In Kings Point, New York, the storm surge was 12.5 feet. Boardwalks were destroyed and boats were pushed into roads. Then there was the wind. Officially, the highest gust clocked was 94 miles per hour at Eaton's Neck, New York on Long Island. Wind gusts topped hurricane force well inland. The end result was extensive damage and loss of power. At the height of the power outages, nearly 7.4 million people were left in the dark.
These are the images most will recall about Sandy's destruction, high tides and massive flooding up and down the coast. But this was Sandy's mark further inland, a dumping of wet, heavy snow that crippled states like North Carolina and West Virginia. Totals ranged across the region, but topped 2 feet in some places and combined with strong winds caused whiteout conditions. Boone, North Carolina got a foot of snow and 40-mile-an-hour gusts.
If the wind would let up, it'd be really nice, but it's just this 50, 60 mile an hour gust that's really getting everyone.
In West Virginia, the storm caused at least 5 deaths, closed schools in 39 counties, shut down roads, highways, and even part of a major interstate, and made homeowners closely watch their roofs after reports of at least 3 collapses. And the damage is far from over. Thousands remain in the dark as crews struggle to fix power lines snapped by Sandy's snow. The West Virginia governor's office warned it may take days to restore power statewide and offered shelters, National Guard troops, and 7 million meals to help those who are stranded. But ski resorts are thrilled to see the snow, saying it'll help them recover after last year's warm, dry winter. Some resorts say the storm will let them have their earliest kickoff in history, but others say they can't open the slopes until power comes back first. As mountaintop towns continue to dig out, those in lower elevations are almost dry. The storm dropped 4 inches of snow Wednesday morning here in Lewisburg, West Virginia, and by evening, it was almost gone. For the Weather Channel in Lewisburg, West Virginia, I'm Janelle Klein.